Welcome back, everyone, to another Company Fears 2 replay cast, and this time we are going to have a 2v2 on Minsk Pocket. I hate this map. Anyway, the players are going to be Joig240 and Schnitzel Schlampe, who is the one who's ended the replay. Awesome name. Ottimo nome. He's actually half Italian, so I can insult him in Italian. Anyway, his buddies, of course, are the Soviets as well. And on the enemy side, we have Admir Magnum. Hello again. He's also a viewer, so hope he's having a good time, and we'll see how he does as the OKW. His buddy is the Joker, of course, as the OKW as well. So double OKW on Minsk Pocket. What everybody just loves in life, you know? So we'll see how this goes. Of course, Minsk Pocket, I mean, we all know it, right? 3 lanes of just trees. Light cover all around. Choke points. Just dislike it. Big long games of artillery. That's basically what happens. Anyway, Adamir is going for a Kubel. Probably a pretty good choice. Again, these kind of open maps with not a lot of cover and points that are relatively far away from each other. Kubels just love these. And to be honest, Kubel isn't really all that strong anymore, but it's still useful. It's still useful. So getting that still pretty okay. Schnitzel Schlampe going for the tier 1, and that's going to slow down his capping, of course, but he's going to get, in return, some Penal Battalion, and, of course, he's going for a Clown Car. His buddy also went for tier 1 and a Clown Car, but his buddy went for 2 Engineers, so his capping is not as slowed down as Schnitzel Schlampe's, but, of course, Schnitzel Schlampe will be able to get some more Penals. Of course, Engineers gonna have to escape rather quickly as the Volksgrenadiers and Sturmpiles are just massacring them. So please escape quickly. Almost losing them, but yeah, just kind of surviving. Right now he's getting, you know, the Allies are getting kind of pushed back on every front, but once these Clown Cars hit the field, yeah, things are not going to look good for the Germans. There's not really any counters to this right off the bat. I mean, the closest thing would be to upgrade combat package on the Sturmpiles, but this is not going to happen for a while, I don't think. And as you can see, the Ska Car is getting behind the Kübelwagen. The Kübelwagen nicely maneuvers around, but the Clown Car will just open up with the rear machine gun, of course, and just destroy that little not Clown Car, that little car. There's also another Kübelwagen, so that means that there's some nice targets for the Clown Cars to go after. And right now, of course, the Germans will not have any trucks set up, so their Volksgrenadiers are absolutely just haplessly getting demolished by the mechanized slaughter. And there's nothing that they can do. They're sitting ducks. Right now, this is not looking all that good for the Germans. It would be looking even better if the Allies had been putting units inside these Clown Cars, but of course right now there's not enough munitions to upgrade combat engineers with flamethrowers yet. So yes, the Clown Car is doing quite well at the start, but we'll see if the Allies can capitalize on their successes. Of course, there's a nice Volksgrenadier squad over here huddling up in that building. That's going to prevent the Allies from moving into that strategic point, but the Allies can still move into the fuel point. And right now, of course, the Joker's kind of trying to scare away the Clown Car by shooting at it and moving in the Volksgrenadiers as in, oh no, I'm Panzerfausting. But of course he doesn't have Panzerfaust, so he's taking a lot of damage, and the Clown Car will escape out of there rather unscathed. And the Strafniki, of course, can easily just mow down these last remaining infantry units for the Germans. Yet more Strafniki gonna just charge in and get into the place where the, of course, Germans don't have any windows. So that's a rather easy way to take care of that building. Of course, Adamir, though, is gonna come in and support with Volksgrenadiers and Sturmpiles. So all okay for Adamir. He's gonna have a decent shot at recapturing his points on the right side, but the center is not looking all that good. The Penals are just pushing in, and it's all looking a little bit grim for the Germans. We'll see what they can do, though, with their trucks. I mean, we do have the mechanized setting up for the Joker, and I'm guessing that there's going to be a Luke's coming in. Of course, Luke's very, very, very strong against this kind of playstyle, and right now, the Clown Car is around on the field, so I feel like if this Clown Car utilizes these last moments where, of course, the Volksgrenadiers from Adamir don't have any Panzerfausts. Well, yeah, the Allies are going to have a great advantage. And right now, it looks like the Sturm Pioneers will get wiped out by the machine gun. Yep, they will. And yeah, the setup of the battle headquarters will not be fast enough, and the Volksgrenadiers will have to retreat as well. The other Volksgrenadier squad is also involved in the defense of the battle group, but yeah, the battle group will be defended by just a massive swarm of folks. So while the Allies getting some good advantages, the Germans right now are gonna come back with a vengeance. They do have the battle group headquarters right now, and they can reinforce off of this. Sorry, so they're gonna have some good map control at this point. The big problem for the Allies, though, is gonna be the Lukes. When this thing comes out, which is going to be soon, things are not going to look all that good for the Allies because, of course, the Allies don't have any AT. They only have Tier 1. We'll see if they have the foresight to upgrade any of their Penals with PTRSs. They do, kind of. Joig does have one of the PTRSs. And he's also going to send in his Clown Car, or rather Schnitzel is sending in his Clown Car to the left side, taking the point. You know, needs to actually get in, but looks like he forgot about putting the Clown Car exactly in there. A little bit of a oversight. Of course, MG34 tries to set up, and the Penal will get in there and try to throw a satchel charge, but it will not be enough, and he's getting massacred by the Sturm Pioneer. Get out of there, or no. He tries to throw a satchel charge, but it glitches out. It hits the tree, I think, and yeah, it does not go on the battle group, which I think was the target. I think he wanted to blow up the battle headquarters. Second supply half-track for Adamir. He's moving that in relatively close to the front line. I wonder what he's trying to do with that. He's going for a mechanized relatively close to the front line. That's a bit of a aggressive move, and I'm not sure if it's going to pay off because it's not like this thing is going to do all that much. But this is going to mean that Adamir can also go with Lux's, and especially I think that he's going to go for a Stuka. Because his friend has gone for mechanized as well, so he should be the one to go with the Lukes. No, he's not. Why no Lukes? I feel like this is a big mistake that the Germans are making. It could have been a great opportunity to exploit the weakness of the Allies, and the weakness of the Allies is that right now, of course, they lack Tier 2, so they lack anti-tank guns. The Lukes would do very, very well. Here comes a satchel charge, but it's not going to be enough. And yeah, boom, not nearly any damage. And of course, the Clown Car gets the capture on the left side. So that means that there's a triple cap going for the Allies. That's pretty good. Gonna drop the Germans relatively quickly. Germans are already down to 400 and counting. So Germans will need to try to do something relatively quickly. Adamir, it looks like he's only got 3 Volksgrenadier squads left, but he's got, well, plenty of choice to things to, you know, buy, because he's got both teching structures. Here comes a satchel charge. That's going to do more damage to Penals than to the Volks. Get out of there. Get out of there, Joig. You can't fight all those SDGs. Okay. At least he got out. And yeah, the Germans are coming back into this a little bit. After a few scary moments, they're starting to sort of coalesce and concentrate. And yeah, so he's going for the Lukes, Adamir, and that's a good idea. The Joker is getting a second truck, and I think he's going to turn that into a Schwer Panzer and try to get himself a Panzer IV, which might be a good idea. Although, if that's the case, why did he go for the for this mechanized regiment headquarters rather than for the battle headquarters? I think he just kind of, I don't know, he just kind of forgot that he went for this. He could have gone for the Lukes a lot earlier than Adamir went for the Lukes. And at this point, the Lukes would already be on the field. It would already be racking up kills and being a nuisance to the Allies. So really, I think that this is a big mistake, because it has allowed the Allies more time to get up to Tier 3 and get a Su-76 out. So the Su-76 being around just means that the Lukes is going to have some problems. There goes the Scout Car, getting completely Panzerfausted to oblivion, and it's going to get salvaged ignominiously by some Volksgrenadiers. Yet another attempt from the Allies to push up, and this is pretty bad for the Germans. They've only got a couple of units here, and there's a lot of Penals coming in. Penals, of course, can get some pretty nasty PTRS shots on this SWS supply half-track, and also they're coming in and they're gonna get some nice satchel charges off on these buildings, I think. There's a lot of munitions in the bank for Schnitzel Schlampe, but he does not go for satchel charges. I feel like he could have destroyed at least one of these buildings with the satchels. I think he should have at least gone for it. He might have lost one squad or two, but it would have been worth it to destroy the buildings. As it stands, he kind of just ran in with his Penals and took a lot of damage for no reason. Right now, it seems like the Lukes will try to circle strafe around this Su-76, getting around it, but the Su-76 is rather quick and agile, so it's probably going to keep up. Can it get the last shot in? It can, and destroys the Lukes. So Schnitzel Schlampe and Joig getting a pretty good victory there, destroying the Lukes. And that's pretty bad, of course, for Adamir Magnum, because, well, that was a lot of resources that he spent in that vehicle. And considering that the Allies were already doing rather well, it's pretty bad for the Germans. Of course, Schnitzel Schlampe went for Soviet combined arms, which is going to give him the ML-20 150 gun howitzer, 152 gun howitzer. And later, that's a very, very strong unit. As for now, that's going to give him Guards, Riflemen, Infantry. For now, he's gone for a T-70 as well. So, not sure if this is the best idea. The Germans, funnily enough, not going for any Raketenwerfers is going to make this pretty easy for the Allies to get some vehicles out and use them correctly. But there's still a lot of Panzerfausts, so I'm not sure if the T-70 is really the best idea at this point in the game. If I were Schnitzel Schlampe, I would have teched up to Tier 4 and gotten out of Katyusha, because Joig also went for Tier 3. So it's not like we needed T-70s or Su-76s, or we needed someone to go for them. No, what the Allies needed was someone to go with the Tier 4 and get out the Katyusha, because the Katyusha would be very, very strong right now at dealing with these Volksgrenadier blobs, at dealing with the defensive playstyle of huddling around these buildings over here. It would be very, very strong. So I feel like it's a big missed opportunity for the Allies to not go with that. And it's allowing the Germans more time to just kind of sit around on the battle headquarters, use their battle headquarters as a forward base to just always reinforce for free, for no real danger, and they're just being allowed to do that. Of course, there is the 120mm mortar from the Shock Army over here, and that's quite good at least doing some damage to the enemy as they're huddling around the battle headquarters. But that's still not as strong as a Katyusha would be, still. And so, well, I feel like the Allies are, again, giving away a bit of an opportunity. At least the Germans are not slacking when it comes to the harassment, moving up to the strategic point and getting some, at least, damage dealt to the Allied map control situation. The Allies, a little bit more sloppy when it comes to this. They're just kind of letting the Germans have the left side, and looks like the mine over here. I'm not sure if Schnitzel Schlampe saw the mine being laid. Oh, is he gonna go for it? Okay, gets out rather easily. But that was close, and yeah, looks like Commodore Obvious will be murdered over here. So one Penal squad goes down, and it's not looking all that great for the Axis when it comes to the infantry game. But at least they got that wipe off. And that should be enough to give them a little bit of a sigh of sort of relief. I don't know. They don't have Tier 4. Well, okay. No, the Joker finally went for Tier 4. So he's going to have Obersoldaten. We'll see if the Allies can deal with the elite infantry if and when it comes on the field. And yet another Penal squad will go down. So that's pretty bad, actually. 2 Penals lost by Joig. That's pretty nasty. He's going to go for some shock troops to replace them, but it's not exactly the same thing. You'd rather want the shock troops complementing what the Penals can do with the PTRS, with the satchel charges. Shock troops are dedicated anti-infantry and flanking troops. Of course, on a map like Minsk-Clocket, they're going to be relatively ineffective unless you can use them correctly. That is to say, get some good flanks off, use the smoke grenades well, and just prevent as much as possible them taking long-range fire. Because if they do take long-range fire, and if they start to drop before they reach the target, well, things are not going to look good for them, and they're going to be a waste of manpower. So, yeah. Schnitzelschlampe is going for a mortar. Probably not the best choice. I mean, he's about to go ahead and get 8 command points. If he waited for the 8 command points, he would have had the gun howitzer. So, I mean, why use manpower in artillery right now? Because this is effectively an artillery unit. Why use manpower in that if you can wait for the gun howitzer? Well, not sure. Not sure. Maxim getting murdered. Of course, this means that Schnitzel does have the tier 2. Does his buddy have tier 2? No, he does not. So there's still that bit of a problem that one of the Soviet players cannot go with anti-tank guns. But the Germans still not bringing out any armor. Although, well, just as I say that, the Joker has a Panzer IV. So that's going to make the need for armor kind of felt for the Allies. And yet another usage of the salvage to just destroy the support weapon. Armored car on the field, Puma for Adamir. Not sure that this is the best choice. It's going to counter the T-70 and do relatively okay against the Su-76. But to be honest, if the Allies get out some heavier armor later on, the T-70 is going to be basically the least of their worries. And so having that Puma might not be the best idea. To be honest, it's 80 fuel. At this point, well, is it 80 fuel? I always get these fuel costs wrong because I don't play the game anymore. 70 fuel, sorry. It's 70 fuel, so, I mean, at this point, is it really worth to go with a Puma? Just to counter the T-70? No, probably not. Because you can just get a couple of not Panzerwerfers, Raketenwerfers. Nasty 120mm mortar, actually. You can just get some Raketenwerfers, and that's going to be okay. And of course, there's also Panzerschrecks and Panzerfausts. So what I would have gone for with that fuel would rather have been a Stuka, because it would just be more useful as a whole, or maybe waited for the tier 4 or something like that. Nasty anti-tank gun shots from the Su-76, dealing a lot of damage to that Panzer IV. At least the Germans have the control over the center, and they decide to go with a Pak 43. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's a bad idea. Because it's likely that the Allies... Ooh, nice. Nice. Actually proving me wrong with that Puma. Killing the Su-76. That's exactly what the Puma is good for. Just kind of poking at long range, and then if you see that the enemy is low, go in for the kill. Pounce on them. Yeah, the reason why I think that this Pak 43 might not be the best of choices is that this is Minsk pocket, so it's not like there's a lot of cover for this thing to be hidden behind. And plus, once it gets spotted, well, there's going to be artillery coming in, and 120mm mortar, regular mortar, possibly ML20 for Schnitzelschlampe, possibly Katyusha coming in from either of these Soviet players. Joig has tier 4. He still hasn't brought anything out from this yet, but some Katyushas are definitely what the doctor ordered for the Soviets. So I feel like they'll go for that. And right now, what the Soviets need to do is 1, go for Katyushas, 2, go for AT because they're desperately lacking, and 3, absolutely try to get some way to deal with this flanks situation. Right now, they're just getting absolutely stomped on the flanks. The Germans have the complete map control, just completely due to their harassment capabilities. So they need to be a little bit more careful about the flanks, because they're just giving the Axis free resources at this point. And partially this is because the Axis have this Panzer IV, and because they have, of course, some good infantry units, but still, the Allies can find ways around that. There goes another Pino Battalion squad, and the Satchel Charge will miss, so that's unfortunate. Looks like more engagement victories for the Germans are going to come through. But, I mean, at least there's an Su-85 coming in for Joig, and I wonder what Schnitzelschlampe will go for with that tier 4. He finally went for the tier 4, so he's going to have maybe Katyusha, maybe Su-85. Again, I would rather go for both. And probably one T-34-76 for at least one of these Soviet players wouldn't hurt as well. Just so that it can be used in counter-harassment duties on the flanks. Just whenever a German unit comes in to capture your point, you send a T-34 and kill them. or at least force them away, which is kind of what the T-70 should be doing as well. Just to prevent the Germans from having such a superior position when it comes to map control. And, ooh, actually nice. Panzer IV tries to flank, but it's going to hit a mine, and that's crucial. Of course, it's just basically beneath the fire of the Su-85, and I don't think there's any way this Panzer IV can escape. It's just too slow at this point. Yet more damage coming in, and if the Su-85 can get in one last shot, of course, it can probably exit focus sight because it doesn't really need that. It's got units to spot for it. Puma also hits a mine. There goes the Panzer IV, and the Puma is also taking fire. The German infantry is, of course, damaged and back at base. That's pretty crucial, of course, because they weren't able to support their vehicles. They weren't able to get in any minesweepers to help out in that push, and that was very well done by the Allies. As always, mines very, very strong, winning the game, at least helping very greatly in winning the game. And with that Panzer IV dead, things all of a sudden look a lot better for Allied units that are going to be fighting on the left flank and on the right flank, because without the threat of that Panzer IV just appearing out of nowhere and blasting away a squad and wiping it out, it's going to be a little bit easier for the Allies to send in units aggressively on the left side and the right side. So this is definitely good. 2 Su-85s in the center. Gonna keep watch. Not really gonna be the strongest at offensive maneuvers, of course, but they're gonna be very strong at dealing with the Schwerpanzer quarters. They're gonna be very strong at dealing with enemy tanks and support. Assault guns. So we'll see. We'll see if they can use them correctly. The Joker, instead of going for an artillery piece, which he could do, in fact, both Germans went for fortifications doctrine, so there's going to be a lot of artillery, I'm guessing. Instead of doing that, he's going for a couple of Obersoldaten. His buddy Adamir, not really going for Obersoldaten, he's going for a Kubelwagen. Wants the extra harassment power, and yeah, I think that's what he wants to do. He wants to be a capping menace. Anyway, nice flank coming in with these Volksgrenadiers, but unfortunately he's going to get flanked by, of course, these Penals and the shock troops. So lots of damage going to come through on these flanking units, and I'm thinking that they're going to get massacred from both sides. The Germans are down to 193 VPs, so things are not looking all that good for them when it comes to the VPs, but the Kubelwagen is going for the munitions point. Of course, it doesn't realize that there's some engineers here, so it should be kind of careful. Right now, the Germans, despite their nice attempts at harassment and capping and all of that, they're not having the best times. Looks like an artillery piece is on the field. Yes, it is the ML-20 from Schnitzel Schlampe, as expected, and it's firing on the headquarters area of the Germans. Of course, it's not really being the most effective usage, but eventually it's going to hit something, and eventually it's going to do a lot of damage. Once again, though, the Germans really driving it in with that map control advantage, taking over the left side, taking over the center, and just deploying superior forces to the right side. And it's not even like they have that many more units. Like, as you can see, 76 plus 50, that's 130, 121, 26, sorry. 126 versus, yeah, a little bit more for the Allies, actually. So the Allies with more pop cap. Just check out the posture, how the units are deployed. The Allies are all the way back at the base. They're just kind of huddled up against the base, whereas the Germans, partially thanks to their superior position with the headquarters, of course, partially thanks to their more aggressive plays with their infantry, moving in along the flanks, capturing these points, and also just trying to establish as much of a initiative as possible. They're able to come in, capture points, force the Allies back into the base even though they have superior units, and make them think that they're inferior when they're actually superior. So overall, the Germans playing very well, despite the fact that they're not exactly winning a lot of engagements. It's making sure that their map control is still intact, and of course the Germans have the superiority when it comes to the late game. They have the better late game units. If they can get to those King Tigers, if they can get to those Panthers and all of that, they're going to have an easy time. Although, what they need to be afraid of is the Allied artillery, of course. Looks like they know that, and they have counter-batteried one of those artillery pieces with their own. So, well played by Adamir. Still, that's not going to prevent the two ML20s from being a threat. And as you can see, one of the battle headquarters is already very, very almost dead. Yet another squad is going to go down. Looks like another penal going down the drain. And the shock troops have a pretty hard fight ahead of them with 15 Volksgrenadiers around here, but they can do it, and they're going to wipe out one of these Volksgrenadier squads easily. Also, with the support of the T-70, maybe wiping out a second Volksgrenadier squad. So, lots of units on both sides being wiped out, and there's not going to be as much veterancy left after this fight. Although Adamir still has most of his infantry corps intact. He's got veterancy 5 units all around, and as you can see, they're proving their worth, just smashing that mortar crew, moving in, and probably they can get some good Panzerfaust off on these Su-85s, just kind of slowing them down and disrupting them. And they can get some good line of sight on these Hamel-20 howitzers. So as they're trying to, of course, counter-battery the German howitzers, this is looking pretty good, and yet another squad will go down for the Allies. So once again, more and more wipes. These players all need to be more afraid of their units. They need to be more careful with how they use them. Also, the T-70 taking some nice pot shots on these Volksgrenadiers. Can they wipe them out? This is a veterancy 5 squad, so it's pretty important to chase it down and kill it. And the veteran T-70 is exactly the unit to do that, but it stops for some reason and it does not chase in. And now it chases in very late, so it's going to run straight into the Pak-43 and the Raketenwerfer, but it kills the unit as it's dying. I'm not quite sure if that's a worth exchange, but at least he managed to get the trade-off. So, the Germans also managed to get a nice artillery barrage. I think that was a zeroing artillery on the artillery piece. So the Germans, once again, one-on-one when it comes to guns. And the Allies are in a bad position at this point, to be honest. The Germans have the superiority when it comes to the pop cap. They have the superior map control. They have the initiative. They don't have, you know, the tank destroyers. The Allies have the tank destroyers. The Germans, in fact, don't even have the medium tanks. But they're going for the heavies. The Joker's going for the KT. And Magnum might be going for the KT too. So yeah, soon enough they'll have the double KT, and the double KT is scary as hell, no matter how many SUs you have. So this could be pretty bad for them. And if the Germans can get artillery superiority, well, the Germans are all just going to have an easy time just camping around these battle headquarters, playing the OKW SimCity. And if the OKW SimCity can do well, it's just very, very hard to deal with. It's why everybody likes, quote-unquote, playing Minsk Pocket against the OKW. Especially double OKW. T-34 taking fire. And the Germans once again going for that triple cap. Despite the fact that the Allies have the complete VP superiority, at least when it comes to the tickets, the Germans, with their superior map control, their superior unit control, and harassment skills, they're just able to get more points than the Allies. The Allies need to slack up and send units to capture points. They need to work on this map control situation. Otherwise, the Germans will just have more resources and more... map control is not just resources. It's also the way you, of course, can prevent the enemy from moving about. So, of course, right now, if you're looking at how the Allies can move around, if they try to move into here, well, this whole area has German points. So it's going to be harder for the Allies to sneak into this area. It's going to be harder for the Allies to get flanks off from the right side. On the left side, the Germans have all these points. So the Germans will know, mostly, if the Allies are bringing in units over here. And of course, there's mines around that they can plant. There's a lot of things that they can do to make life for the Allies a little bit harder. So, again, the Allies need to be working on this map control situation. Otherwise, the Germans will just slowly but surely strangle them down. And as you heard, the Königstiger is on the field for the Joker. And Adamir Magnum is also very close to the Königstiger. So, with the artillery piece, with the Pak-43, with the Königstiger, if he has enough pop cap, which he doesn't, but he might just lose something, who knows. With the double Königstiger, the Allies will be in trouble. To be honest, though, if I were the Joker, I would keep this KT back, and I would just wait until my ally can get his own KT. Because, I mean, sending in the KT alone without infantry support... Why is it that every time that the Germans have a KT at some very early juncture, even though this isn't very early, but every time the Germans have a KT, they send it in without infantry support. And the result, of course, is that it takes a damaged engine from the Penals. And now there's 2 Su-85s that have a clear line of sight with a damaged engine. The KT doesn't have the support of anything else because it doesn't have infantry support, because the Puma was forced to retreat. Finally, it gets into the range of the Pak 43, which is probably going to mean it's saved. Maybe. The infantry's charging in, but the anti-tank grenades will not do damage. And the last shot comes in from the Su-85. Once again, just for some reason, the Germans have such a hubris when they get this tank that you just send it in without infantry support. And the result is predictable. It gets its damaged engine, and the Su-85s kill it, because it's slow already. Normally, with the damaged engine, it's even slower. And that's just a big loss for the Germans, because if you think about it, if you just waited a tiny bit, here comes KT number 2. And look, the Germans are still winning when it comes to the map control. Despite the fact that they lost the KT in that engagement, they're getting territory. They're winning when it comes to the territory gain. So imagine if this KT had still been alive and this push had been with 2 KTs. They wouldn't have been able to kill the 2 KTs. They're about to lose a Katyusha randomly. And at this point, the KTs would be pushing into the base. Like, there would be absolutely nothing that the Allies could do to recover from this. Nice Katyusha barrage, but it doesn't wipe out any squads, which is unfortunate. And right now, the Allied base is being shelled, which is, of course, the worst thing that can happen to you. And, yeah, just wasted opportunity on the German side. So, yet again, another wasted opportunity. But, I mean, at this point, Adamir, it's all on his shoulders for the Axis. I mean, he's got the infantry, he's got the artillery, he's got the Pak 43, he's got the KT, he's got the Puma, he's got the Rekenwerfer, he's even got a mortar, a stolen mortar. He can use some flares from that. His buddy has some infantry. That's all he's got. And, well, he's going for an LEFH. So that kind of tells me that he's going for a second KT, because otherwise he probably wouldn't have spent a 600 manpower on an artillery piece. He would have waited until he had enough fuel to grab himself a Panther P4. And now if the Germans can conserve this KT and use it wisely, well, I don't see how the Allies are going to come back. As you can see, this is the great German late game. When it comes into play, it's just hard to deal with. There goes the bunker, the MG bunker. One of the artillery pieces has been recovered by the Allies. Looks like we have, you know, recon run attempt from Schnitzelschlampe. Actually, he's going to call in a bombing run on the veteran howitzer, and that's probably going to destroy it. Well done. Well done. So at least that evens out the artillery situation once again in favor of, well, not in favor of anybody because it's even. And a crush attempt by the T-34. Gets in and does some damage. Yeah, that's wiping out one of the squads. Pretty good, but it's in trouble. It's got its back turned to the Puma, and there's also the KT coming in. KT once again without any infantry support. The infantry is around here, but it's not moving along with the KT. There's also no minesweepers. There's a Soviet mine over here, so it needs to be very, very careful right now what happens. And it's also in a pretty bad situation. Look at the fog of war. As you can see, it doesn't see anything of what is going on around here, and I expected that. Everyone expected that. I mean, at least it kills the howitzer, but at this point, it's just dead. I mean, the Su-85s can come in and outrange it relatively easily, and at this point, the KT is in trouble. A nice flank attempt from these Obersoldaten will provide maybe some relief. Who knows? KT is trying to escape, and the Panzerfaust from the Volksgrenadiers I don't think will be enough to save it. I don't think will be enough. I mean, if the Su-85s can continue to chase this thing down, although it's nicely using these bushes for cover, it might be able to escape. 2 damage engines, actually. So well done with the Volksgrenadiers screening away for the KT. Ooh. Can this KT survive? Well, the problem is Adamir has lost all of his Sturm Pioneers. So he needs to get a couple of replacement Sturm Pioneers and upgrade them with the repair kits so that he can have the Minesweepers and repair the KT faster. Because otherwise, this thing has to go back all the way to the repair shop over here, the Mechanized Regiment. So this would be a long, long crawl back. For some reason, though, the Allies are not chasing against them. I mean, well, okay. The reason is that their vehicles are also very, very much damaged. So, how are we in terms of just overall situation? This is very, very confusing. Okay, so the Allies have a slight disadvantage when it comes to the pop cap, and they have a huge disadvantage when it comes to the map control. They're just not sending units to cap. I'm just convinced because of that. I'm just convinced of this. Like, what would cost Schnitzel Schlampe to send in just one random engineer over here to test out if there's enemy units over here? Probably not much. That's what the Allies should be doing right now. They should be trying to establish as much map control as possible. Because if the Germans are allowed to run away with this, as you can see, they're going to start to get KTs, and they're going to start to get artillery pieces, and it's going to be harder and harder for the Allied players to deal with all of this. Katyusha is a step in the right direction, because it can do some pretty good work in attritioning out these Axis infantry squads, and in fact, this is very bad. One of the Volksgrenadiers goes down. In fact, that was the Veteran C5 Volksgrenadier, and there's 2 T-34-76s on the field for Joig that are being surprisingly effective, although they're running into the Pak 43, they're running into the Raketenwerfer, they're trying to chase down these 2 Volksgrenadier squads, but I mean, the result was predictable. You know that the Pak 43 is there. You need to find some way to deal with this thing and destroy it. Otherwise, it's going to destroy all your armor forever. Or, you know, you can just avoid it. For some reason, the Allies have been ignoring the left side a lot. Like, again, both of these teams have been very, very good at using mines. So, for some arcane reason, none of them have been getting any minesweepers. It's like, yes, I'm using mines to good effect, and my enemy is using mines to good effect. Should I get a minesweeper? No. The flowchart is going kind of like that for our players, and this is kind of strange. It's really the biggest mistake, actually, that all of them are doing. Sturm Pioneers on the field, no minesweepers. 150 munitions, so you can get some minesweepers. The Joker, 250 munitions, he can get some minesweepers. Schnitzel Schlampe, 80 munitions, he can get the minesweepers. Joig, 160 munitions, he can get minesweepers. These guys should all get minesweepers because they're clearly pretty good at planting down mines. The Germans, however, they just have such a commanding lead at this point. They need to be careful with this KT, not to lose this thing. Need to be making sure that they use this infantry well to support it. And here comes a ram, actually. This could be pretty bad, although it only shocks it and does not actually do a damaged engine. It's going to kind of slow it down. Su-85 tries to flank. Very brave move from an Su-85, and it's getting just kind of stomped by the Puma. But the T-34 comes back around. Looks like one of the mines was exploded on the Königstiger. And how did the Königstiger get that damaged engine? I think one of the mines that the Germans laid exploded, and that splash damage damaged the engine of the Königstiger. I think that's what happened. Anyway, it's dead. Whatever. It's dead. Let's not even talk about this anymore. So once again, a bit of an overextension with that KT. The KT Hubris. And now the Allies have a relatively decent situation in that they can recapture the right side, I think, easily. I don't really see what the Germans can do to stop this. And if they concentrate themselves pretty well on the center, they can do some good work here as well. Especially with the support of these Katyusha rocket launchers. They're going to have an easy time kind of smashing these German infantry squads, and especially the Pak 43, which for some reason is still alive and hasn't been just smashed into oblivion. Alright, so the Allies now have 3 Su-85s and 1 T-34-76. So if the next point blank Katyusha barrage, he's gonna be lucky to just kind of avoid it. And right now, yeah, the Katyusha needs to be kind of careful because these guys with the LMGs do some damage to the very much unarmored Katyusha. Yeah, what was I talking about? I have no idea. 120mm mortar deals the damage. Unfortunately, it's not enough. Rip. Rip, rip, rip. Still, what I would say is... ooh, another Königstiger. What I would say is that when the next Königstigers come around, the allies will be more prepared for them. Although, this time, finally, there will be the double KT. Now, the Germans need to be using these together, because it's just going to make it harder for the allies to focus fire one of them down. And right now, I think Adamir is making a mistake at sending his on the right side. At least, finally, he's got some minesweepers. He's got some minesweepers. That's pretty good. And he needs to be bringing up his infantry to support the KT. Otherwise, well, it's going to be easy to swarm this thing down. And what I would do is, yeah, send these guys in on the same side. But what I would have done is send them in on the center, not on the right side. Because the right side, it's very easy for these guys to get tunneled into one area and then flanked from the rest. Like, for example, if the KTs are here, it's very, very easy to just come around this ramp and get behind them. If the KTs instead are here, for example, yeah, sure, somebody can maybe come around here, but you're going to have your defenses set up down here. Maybe someone's going to try to come around the right side, but you also have something that's set up to prevent that. Whereas, if you're extending yourself far out on the right side, well, this may not look quite as good. And to be completely honest, the Germans with the KT spam, they've managed to reduce the allies down to 130 VPs. And if they can maintain the double cap indefinitely, which, to be honest, with 2 KTs should be relatively easy, because what they need to do is just park the 2 KTs over here. Literally, that's all they need to do to keep this point under control. They need to park those KTs there, maybe put an MG in this building over here and prevent any random units from coming in, and maybe a Rakenwerfer over here, just to prevent someone random to come in and cap this. They can keep the KTs parked in the center, just supported by the Pak 43, supported by the artillery, supported by the infantry, and then send in random infantry squads on the right side to just kind of harass the allies and prevent them from sitting on their laurels too much, firing artillery at them, and just kind of being nuisances. Vet 5 Puma. Wow. This thing's surely been proving me wrong this entire game. Still, they could be doing that, right? And they would only need, like, what? Right now I'm retarded. It's 1 every 3 seconds. Nice. So it's, they would need like 6 more minutes to take the allies down, because with 136, the Puma's dead. With 136 points, yeah, it would take about 6 minutes to cap them down. And the Puma is dead, finally. At the cost of an Su-85 though, so the Puma, even at death, making himself dear. And, oh no! Oh, that's unfortunate. I was expecting that mine would have splash damaged into the KT as well. But the T-34 takes the damaged engine, and the Allied infantry runs straight into a Katyusha barrage. Not the best idea. Of course, did they reduce the friendly fire from this? Because that wasn't doing any damage to the Allied infantry. Still, whatever. Trying to get in a satchel charge, maybe not the best idea. Where's the other KT? It's being repaired. And the Axis just have this advantage when it comes to the map control that they can use. Again, they can abuse this. They can just kind of park themselves into what they have already, not risk offensives into the right side, because that's where they're going to be more vulnerable to flanking. And kind of try to just harass there. The Allies, what can they do? Well, they need to try to find some way to capture the center and hold it. They need to silence this artillery. They need to silence the Pak 43. They need to make sure that they can protect this right side VP. Because, again, they're going to go down in 6 minutes with the double cap. But 6 minutes is still a relatively long time. They can try to work up something. So, to be honest, they need to be harassing the left side, trying to use their artillery not against the enemy infantry squads, but against the weapons over here. The big guns, trying to silence them, and they need to make sure that they keep the right side. So if I were them, I would park the 120mm mortar somewhere around here. I would use it to get some flare line of sight over the center, and use it, of course, to get some fire support. I would get a machine gun for the right side building. Just park a machine gun over here. Would try to stall the KTs and lure the KTs into traps as much as possible. Try to get some mines on them, of course. Keep them at bay with the Su-85s, and then use the T-34s either to just kind of annoy enemy infantry, or if you see an opportunity, flank the KTs. And in the meantime, just send a bunch of shock troops and infantry and all of that to the left side to try to capture this thing. The fact that the Allies just did not ever in this game try to capture that point is just so annoying, because I feel like their VP situation would be so much better had they just had a little bit more capturing of the the left-hand side. So yeah. And here comes the KTs. Not much infantry support, but they do have something coming in. And the KTs essentially get pulled into the worst possible position. They do take the ramming, but one of the T-34s will die, of course, to get that ramming off. And the other Allied vehicles not really following up on that sacrifice, which is unfortunate. Of course, the smoke working against them. One of the KTs is taking a lot of damage. Of course, lots of damage coming from these Su-85s. I think they can finish him off. The question is, can they now finish off the other two units? Yes, they probably can. The other KT shows the rear armor to the Allies, and the crew shock will come in. But the Jagdpanzer is getting some nice shots into the flank of the other Su-85. And the other Su-85 is getting the shots into the rear of the KT. Triple cap is on for the Germans. Once again, getting a nice capture on the right side, although the Maxim comes in and should really capture this point. Another Puma is around. Surprise, surprise, I'm back. And it's gonna finish off the Su-85 as the Su-85 tries to destroy the KT. The KT is alive, and the Allied tanks are not. The triple cap is still on for the Germans, and I think that this is going to be the end. So the triple cap will be the death of the Allies. The Maxim is not capturing this. This is just so sad. What I would have done is just attacked move into the point, so that I make sure that once they're done, you know, capturing, killing whatever's there, once they're done doing that, they advance into the point and capture that. Although, I know, it wouldn't have changed too much. I mean, there goes the other KT, so they do manage to get the kill at the last possible second, but the KTs did their job. They held the center, and they managed to get some harassment on the right. I don't think the Allies had much of a chance, but if this machine gun had captured this point, and if the Allies had sent in one unit over here, in this whole chaos, even one engineer, these engineers were sitting back here not really doing anything. If these engineers had been sent over here, just capturing random stuff, they might have gotten around the machine gun. If you had sent both of them at once, they might have gotten around the machine gun and captured the point. And then they would have captured this point as well. Then they would have had a chance, because they would have had a double cap. The Germans are down to 170 with no KTs. Maybe the Allies could have rebuilt their armor. I mean, they do have some resources in the bank. 190 fuel for Joig, 165 for Schnitzel. So I feel like the Allies just might have had some chances, but missed opportunities, man. Missed opportunities. Once again, another KT is... Wait. Did that happen, like... Okay, I'm not sure which... Like, whose body is this? Is this the KT crewman? Is this the gunner? Because if so, that's pretty awesome. Like, pretty good detail. Anyway, whatever. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. It was a very awesome game. And I'll see you soon. Have a nice one.